this Nittany Game Week web special as we discuss the opening victory against Purdue. Fellas, it's a victory. You get what you get, and it was thrilling. I mean, all the way to the end. Coach Franklin afterwards has to towel off in the press conference. I think we all had to towel off. It was incredible. I mean, it was really thrilling. A lot of mistakes for both teams as you see that, but your impressions of week one and to get out of there with a victory.
Penn State had them all the way. I don't know what you guys are, who was sweating for what? I mean, you didn't know it was going to end that way? No. I think that defensively, when it came time to make some of the stops they had to make, they got good field position for the offense on 2 possessions. And the fumble, those are the 3 plays that really kind of swung the thing.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing I think Purdue today is kicking themselves for the way they ended the game. The clock management that's not what they really wanted to do. The other thing is all the penalties they had, 9 penalties for 93 yards. There's a lot of penalties. I think the one thing it gives you something to build on for next week's game, okay? Mistakes you can correct. The one thing I thought Penn State did pretty well for an open game was tackle. They obviously tackled a lot better than Purdue, who I thought is the one thing that probably cost them the game defensively is their missed tackles. If they would have tackled better, I think it would have really helped them.
So I want to start with the defense, or come back to you with the defense. There's a position group, the secondary, they've invested heavily in, right? With recruiting, with resources, with bodies. I mean, very athletic. And you're going to see a lot of leaning on that secondary with Manny Diaz as he sends pressure and a lot of people. I thought they responded really, really well. Of course, there's some holding, some holdings, some pass interferences. You're going to have that as you make people go one-on-one. But they really responded. They created the turnover. They're flying all over the place. I really think they're going to create some headaches for most of the teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think they will. One of the things when you have a secondary like that, you can get pretty exotic up front and do some things, take some chances. And I'm sure Coach Diaz early on, how far can I push this group? What do I need? Where am I headed with it? Now that he gets a feel for them, there's always that process. You can talk about spring practice. There's no pressure in the blue-white game. It's fun. And now they count. Everything counts. So I think as he evolves, knowing what they can handle, I think you'll start seeing more of the pressured game that he likes to play.
Yeah, defense really responded in the fourth quarter. They kept them off the scoreboard when it came to that. Let's switch to the offense and Sean Clifford. Fascinating case. I almost feel guilty like having and watching a 6-year quarterback do his thing. But, he was playing against the 6-year quarterback. We're going to see one later in the season with Minnesota, with Tanner Morgan. So just that experience that he brings to it after the pick 6, the way that he responds, you got to forget about that. And he did really just kind of a great performance with that really, really kind of egregious mistake there in the middle of it all.
Well, I think the thing that you saw at the end, which really translated a little bit from last year, is he's comfortable in the no-huddle kind of speed it up. I think you may see more of that as Penn State goes, because once he got into that, a lot of times when they were taking their time and stuff, Purdue was able to do some things defensively, adjust that kind of created some problems for him. But once they got in that speed-up tempo in the 2-minute drill, some guys that clicks because it doesn't give them as much time to think. I think a couple things is they got to do a better job protecting up front. Even though he wasn't sacked much, he was pushed off his spot a bunch of times, a little panicky at times, still a little bit, got to improve on that. But when it came time to do it, he got it done.
One of the things that Coach Franklin's been talking about a lot is their increased depth or better depth than the last couple of years. We saw that at running back. They used all 4 guys in really key situations. They got the freshman, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton some carries. Kevon Lee, of course, catches the game-winning touchdown. And on a really pivotal 4th down play, all of a sudden Devin Ford shows up. They fake the handoff, and he goes out in the flat and catches a really, really big 4th down play. So they are able to use all 4 running backs.
Yeah, no question. But I think at some point you're going to need to get to where you're using 1 or 2 because it's tough to get in that rhythm. I think a lot of the great backs by the 3rd quarter and 4th quarter, they're now reading the secondary, reading where the support's coming from and who they can go after. So I think you're going to need to get into a position where you may not be playing all 4 of them because you want that guy in the 4th quarter who's got a feel for the game.
Yeah, back to the defense and another position group, linebackers. Maybe not quite as deep as some of the other spots as Coach Diaz works with them. They lost Abdul Carter with the targeting call and then figuring it out defensively with the linebackers. What did you see from the LBs?
I thought the LBs made some mistakes early. They got better as the game went on. I think one thing that we talk about offense, defense all the time, we never talk about the special teams. I thought the special teams played really well in the opener. New kickers, new things going on with them, and they covered great. They did a great job when Purdue brought it out. So, there's all these hidden yards all the time. No one ever talks about it, these hidden yardage that you get from your special teams. So I think it's a shout out for the way they played in the opener.
I correct you. You talk about it, not no one. You like to talk about it. You bring it up a lot. It's a great point. And I thought Daquan Hardy did a nice job as the gunner, too. I mean, he made a mistake. He kicked one back in or bobbled one back into the end zone. But I think that's a good sign to see Daquan Hardy kind of replacing Drew Hartlob as that gunner, pinning him down. Because you mentioned the field position.
But
they look like they're going to
stats
work.
never show up in the course of a game. No one says, oh, we picked up 7 yards here on a kickoff return. We did this on the punt. We did it. And those are hidden stats. At the end of the day, they really can help your defense where that starting field position is.
Yeah, if you take the average starting field position between Penn State and Purdue times the number of possessions, you look at them, there's about 80 or 85 yards that Penn State picked up on exchanges of possessions. That's a lot of yards in the course of a game.
Yeah. See, they love this kind of talk. We don't we elaborate as much as we can within 30 minutes.
But I'll tell you this. I think going forward, if you talk about things that you want to improve on, you talk about the linebackers. I think people are going to make the linebackers have to play a little bit more pass than maybe and go after them with the run game north and south. But also, if you are the left corner, the offense's left corner as opposed to the right corner where Joey Porter is, because they are stationary most of the time, they're going to get tested, and you're going to have to see what they can do. And I thought at times Purdue, they went at Joey Porter too much, as opposed to going to the other side. Not that the other guys aren't
Right.
really talented players,
Yep.
but at that point you got to know where if you got one guy over there who's really having a great day, you better go away from him.
Right. I mean, I think they were going to challenge Porter Jr. because of all the flags last year, that type of thing, as he has less calls against him. They're going to have to go the other way when it comes to that, just purely because of his length and all that type of stuff. A couple of drop passes. Those are kind of a concern, I mean, especially when the quarterback lays it in there perfectly. So this guy's going to have to be a little bit more sure-handed against better opponents, or at least in bigger games, I guess.
Yeah, I've looked at, I think from memory serves me right, maybe 4 or 5 drops, and some of them were really good throws.
Yeah.
And you got to make those.
Just anxious, first game. They want to make a play. They're in there. They're excited. All those things will work themselves out. And I think, like I said, you're going to see the biggest improvement on this team from week 1 to week 2. And that's usually, if you're going to be good, that's where you have to make some hay.
Well, you're always looking for a really fun plane ride, a trip back home, and I'm sure they had a blast after that one, celebrating.
And good for them.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. It
Or
gives
they
us-
were snoozing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
That game was 4 hours.
Yeah, I think-
So that, by the time they got in that plane, it's probably 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were working late into the night and a quick turnaround for the next day. So, that's kind of our breakdown of the first week. We'll talk a lot more about it in next week's Nittany game week as we also start to look at Ohio and they get home to Beaver Stadium. But, we've had some viewer interaction. We always appreciate the viewer interaction. Jay, if you want to mention someone special that reached out to us.
Yeah, I got an email from Kip D. Eugenia, wanted us to talk about Kevin Nowak. Kevin is a 30-year veteran of the Air Force and Department of Defense. He's battling lung cancer right now. He and his wife, Charlotte, just want them to know that we're really feeling, we're sending them our best wishes. Hope that he continues to battle and that he wins this fight. Because again, football's a game. At the end of the day, it's just a game among young men. But when you start getting into health things like this, it's so much bigger. And I just hope they understand that so many people in the Penn State community are reaching out. He's a native of Montrose, Pennsylvania, up near Scranton. He lives in Tidewater, Virginia, and comes to Penn State games for years and years and years. So we just hope that, they understand that we're in their corner and that he wins this battle.
Yeah. We talk about football and the pressure, and those are real men. That's a real man right there. We sometimes put these football terms and, all this pressure. No, that's pressure he's under.
Yeah, that's perspective. We're with you, Kevin, and your family for sure. And, keep doing your thing. And, his story about being in Tidewater and then coming up to State College, you hear those all the time. I mean, it doesn't matter. That connection's always there. People will make that long trip to come back up to State College, and we're going to see that all over the tailgating lots on Saturdays and the home games all year long.
Yep.
All right. Okay, that's going to do it for this web exclusive after the Nittany game week, as we kind of give you a sneak peek as to what we're thinking from game number 1. Can't wait for game number 2. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks for watching.